As we've just heard, the Productivity Commission has handed down their report, and that has recommended getting rid of penalty rates on Sundays for retail and hospitality workers. That's 2 million of Australia's lowest paid workers who are facing a wage cut. These are the workers that can least afford it and don't deserve it. This is the government's own report. It's not good enough, as we've heard from them today, for them to try and hide behind the Productivity Commission and the Fair Work Commission. So that's why today we're calling on Malcolm Turnbull to come out, reject this report and refuse to reduce the wages and the weekend rates and the penalty rates of Australia's workers.
For retail workers who would lose $100 a week from these sorts of changes, it means a loss of $5,000 a year to their incomes. It's a pay cut that they can't afford. And it's not just workers who can't afford this. The reality is workers are members of families, but they're consumers too. Our economy can't afford these sorts of pay cuts that our members would be spending back in the shops where they'll be losing their pay. It's a pay cut they can't afford, it's a pay cut they don't deserve, but it's a pay cut our economy can't afford either. So Prime Minister, make a choice. Do you stand with low paid workers? Do you stand with economic prosperity? Or do you stand with the vested interests of a few? We want to know. Don't sit on the fence, join a side.
Nurses and midwives may have been saved from today's report, but we do not believe for 1 minute that if penalty rates are cut on Sundays for hospitality and retail workers, that they won't be then cut for other workers right across our community. Once you destroy the concept of a Sunday being more important than a Saturday, or a Saturday more important than any other day, then you destroy the importance of compensating workers for the experience that they have of not being with their children when it's important, of experiencing the impacts upon shift penalties or shifts on their health and well-being. The impact upon the economy, if this was applied here in New South Wales to nurses and midwives, would be over $150 million taken out of the retail space. That's money that would not be spent. Across Australia, $359 million would be taken out just from nurses and midwives' wages from across the country if we had this applied to nurses and midwives. So this is a serious impact, and big business, retailers, ought to have a serious look at the consequences of taking away money that's spent in their shops, in their businesses, if they attack penalty rates, whether that be for the hotels or restaurants, in the retail shops. If that is then flowed on, as it most logically would be, then the impact upon those businesses could well be devastating, and particularly in regional areas.
This Christmas, when you're all going to bed on Christmas Eve, I will be going to work because I'm a night shift worker, and I've worked the last 15 years doing that. I've raised my children and I've had to try to fit in the hours with them and opening their presents and doing things with them over the years in between my shifts. This is completely unfair and so undemocratic. I'm so disappointed with this government. It really is putting the Grinch, Mr Turnbull and his government are putting the Grinch back in Christmas, and that's just not fair.